Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. So glad you're here. Well, it's Fed Day. Fed announcement comes out in about 45 minutes. What's going on today before the Fed announcement? Well, we're having a little bit of an update. The Dow's up about 70. NASDAQ's up about 90. What's the Federal Reserve going to do today? Well, they're going to come out and say there's no change. So will that move the markets? Very possible that it will. Now, we've had basically three down months. We were down in August, September, October, right? All those were down months, right? Now, back in July, at the end of July, everybody, well, they were buying the market. They didn't want to miss out. The herd was in there buying. There was that fear, that FOMO of missing out on the rally, and now we've had 3 down months. Well, what are people doing now? Well, they're kind of selling the market. They think it's going much lower. Now, that's not my take. My take is we're going to get a push higher from here. My take is that the low on Friday is going to hold up. Now, we may come back down and retest that low before we move higher, but I think they're going to push this market up into the end of the year. Look, we've had that selling pressure since the top in July, and we've had about 10% down move, and we made the low on Friday, and we've had 3 up days in a row, so we might get a little bit of a pullback on this Fed announcement, or maybe they just send us right up higher. Look, we've come back up. We dropped below the 200-day moving average, and now we're back up sitting right on that 200-day, and I do think they're going to push this market higher, but we could get a little bit of a pullback to retest Friday's low first. This is just my take. Yours may be completely different. All right, let's get over to the real estate market. So fascinating to me. The headlines that come out, the narrative that they're pushing. Okay, home prices hit another record high. Another record high home prices. Record high? Really? Really? I don't know. That's what they're telling us. They're telling us we're at a new record high. They're saying that Billy Bob didn't get out at the top, that we've already gone beyond Billy Bob prices. Now, I totally disagree with this. And it depends who you talk to. Zillow has one thing. Redfin has another. The National Association of Realtors, they have another. But they say we're up 1% year over year. Year over year, we're at 1%. And they say this is a new record high. Now, I don't think it is a new record high. I'm going to differ with that. And here's the thing. All right, so they took a seasonally adjusted. I don't even know what that means when it comes to a home price seasonally adjusted. I've been a broker my whole life, and we don't adjust for the season on the prices. The price is what it is, right? All right, now what I do adjust for as an economist, I do adjust for inflation, right? So they're saying that we're right at the price Billy Bob got out. Now, I do agree that we're awfully close to that, and these are the good times. You can still get out where Billy Bob got out. You can still get out while you have your equity left. You can still get out before the crash is coming. And I do think that the crash is coming. Actually, I already think it started. Now, here's why. All right, so let's say we're at the same place as Billy Bob got out. Now, the market peaked back in April of 2022, right? So since April of 2022, has inflation gone up or down? Well, it's gone up. It's gone up a lot. Now, if you adjust for inflation, market's already down 10%, even by their standards, right? All right, well, let's say you don't adjust for inflation. Let's talk about what's going on right now. There's a very tiny number of sales being made right now because there's this credit crunch going on. There's a financial crisis. We're in the midst of a financial crisis. Nobody talks about that. That'd be the banking system, right? Okay, so we got this credit crunch going on. Those sales are being made. Very small number of sales right now. A tiny amount of sales. Now, what's fascinating is out of that tiny amount of sales, about 1/3 of them are, well, new construction. New construction is making up, maybe it's only 20% in your area. Maybe it's 30% in some other areas. But it makes up about 1/3 of the buyers right now are buying new construction loans. Now, what's happening with new construction? Well, new home construction is down already 14% across the nation, year over year, down 14%, right? But we all talked about this. It's much worse than that. You see, they're buying down the interest rate. Interest rates have peaked above 8% for the mortgages. For mortgage rates have gone above 8%. going much higher, going above 10%. But right now, above 8%, right? And they buy those mortgage rates down. They buy them down to 5% or 4%. And this costs them another 10%. So the new homes are not just down 14%. They're already down basically, well, 20, 25%, right? But they can't lower the prices. No, they cannot. Why? Because people have already bought at these prices and they don't want to upset the people when their next door neighbor comes and buys $50,000 less. So what do? Well, they say we're going to sell it at the same price, but we're going to give you a $50,000 to buy down your mortgage rate with. So it's really, let's say your neighbor bought it at $500,000, $500,000. It's really at $450,000, but they have to sell it at the same. But what they're doing is they're buying down the rate. So new home sales down 14% in nominal prices, but really down closer to 20 or 25%. You see, the market is already collapsing. Now, granted, the new home sellers, well, they're smart. They're the home builders. They have to sell. Now, granted, the other person, he's sitting there going, I'm not selling because Billy Bob got a price up here and they're telling me I can only get this much. I'm not going to sell if I don't get the price Billy Bob got. Well, you're going to be waiting a long time because that's coming down. The equity's going to be wiped out. The housing crash is coming down. And that's all I'm talking about is a reversion back to the mean, reverting back to the long-term average, right? That happens every time. Usually we overshoot it, but just to revert back to that average is 40%, and we'll probably overshoot that. Now, if you look at prices from the median home price in the United States year over year, down about 12% already, 12% already. And just from August to September, in August, the median price was $430,000. In September, it's already dropped to $418,000. So these articles that come out and saying we're at record highs, that a new record high has been set, well, they're just giving you bad data. They have a narrative they're pushing. Maybe they're written by a realtor. Maybe they're written by the National Association of Realtors. Now, the National Association of Realtors, well, they say home prices are accelerating again. Now, they just got sued. The National Association of Realtors lost a lawsuit, $1.8 billion they have to pay because they colluded on prices, keeping prices up. And I think this article is a collusion on prices. They're telling you prices are accelerating when they're really accelerating to the downside. Look at, they're going down lower. That's just how it's working right now. Now, okay, they say that despite the drop in buyer activity, the low inventory has kept competition fierce. And this is what Hannah Jones says. She's the Realtor.com. She's the senior economist. Now, I'm an economist and I'm a senior, but she's a senior economist. She's like 30 years old. I don't think she's been around the block enough to know what's really going on. What's really going on is the crash has already started, and it's going to start to spin out of control. Just watch. Sit back. That financial crisis is going to lock everything up. Prices are going to come down. That's just my take. Now, they had this other guy that they interviewed, Nathaniel. Nathaniel, he's the president of the Association of Mortgage Professionals. Association of Mortgage Professionals, Nathaniel. Now, Nathaniel, he's a little more realistic. He's saying that there's a lot of things going on, a lot of parts, a lot of moving parts. Government's shutting down. There's no balanced budget, right? And this creates instability in the marketplace. He says he has no idea where rates are going, and he has no idea where prices are going. I kind of like Nathaniel because that's pretty accurate, right? We got instability in the marketplace. Maybe we get a dead cat bounce before we go lower. I'm not really sure, but there is instability out there, and you're going to get a lot of instability when things start to freeze up. Now, we got a little bit of time. I was going to talk about this yesterday on Halloween because Halloween, scary day, right? It's the day of the haunted houses. So anyways, what do realtors have to disclose? Do they have to disclose if a house is haunted? Now, I've had some experience with this. All right, I used to sell a lot of homes in Campbell, California. Campbell, California. Okay, so Campbell, California, back in the 1800s, 1896 to be exact, fact, they had what's known as the McGlinchey murders. The McGlinchey murders, Colonel McGlinchey, he had a ranch, and one night, his son-in-law got very upset, came in and killed Mr. and Mrs. McGlinchey, killed their daughter, killed the work hands, killed 6 people. This was the first mass murder, one of the first mass murders on record in the state of California. All right, so they started chasing after this guy. His name was James Dunham, right? James Dunham, he stole a horse from the McGlinchey ranch after he killed everybody with a pistol or an axe. He chopped some of them up, killed the others, right? Okay, and he rode off into the sunset. His horse was found dead. His horse was found, right, out by Mount Hamilton, if you're familiar with the area. But he was never found. He was never brought to justice. He was 32 years old at the time. There was a report that he was living in Texas under a different name, under the name of Dave Hatfield. So they went out and arrested Dave Hatfield and extradited him back to California. But it wasn't him. He was some person completely different. But this was an unsolved murder, right? Okay, so 6 murders on this ranch, and right now there's a street, McGlinchey Avenue in Campbell. Now, if you sell a house on McGlinchey Avenue, you have to disclose that the house could be haunted with ghosts. Now, I bought a house directly around the block, and the disclosure still had to be done that there might be a haunted ghost in my house. Now, I was so disappointed. I lived there several years, never saw a ghost. I don't really believe in ghosts. Believe in the Holy Ghost, but that's a whole nother topic. But I don't really believe in these ghosts. But anyways, I sold this one house on McGlinchey Avenue, and the people that were selling the house, the reason they were selling was because the ghosts kept bothering them. Now, you can't make this stuff up. They believed the ghosts were real. The ghosts were living in their house, and they'd walk through the walls, and they'd be all over the place at night. It was very scary. They got tired of it. They put the house on for sale. So the disclosure needed to disclose that this is a haunted house. Anything on McGlinchey Avenue is a haunted house. So you have to disclose that as a real estate agent. Very fascinating to me, very fascinating. But anyways, haunted houses. Would you buy a house if it was haunted? Now, it wouldn't bother me because I don't believe in those type of ghosts. I really don't. If I could get a lower price, I'd take it. But here's a situation I ran into once. This was back in 2012. Okay. So these 2 houses were side by side. This was in Santa Clara, California. Side by side, exact same floor plan, exact same house, and they looked pretty much the same to me. All right, one was selling for $699, and the other was selling for $799. Well, I told my client we should offer on the $699. So we offered on the $699. Well, you know, the disclosures came in and someone had died in the property. You know, you have to disclose if there's a death on the property within the past 3 years. You have to disclose that in California. So once his wife saw it, she would not buy that house. She would not. So we had to get out of that contract, and we got out on the disclosure. We didn't know anyone died in it, but the wife would have no part of it. So we ended up paying $100,000 more for the exact same house next door, where no one died in it. But apparently the wife did not want to see any ghosts. She didn't want to see it. Now the husband, he was a little upset because he didn't want to pay $100,000 more just to get rid of the ghosts. You know, maybe he thought he could bring in the Ghostbusters or something, but he didn't really want to pay the extra $100,000. But they did. They ended up paying the extra $100,000 because someone had died in the property. And I've lost several properties because of that. There's a lot of cultures that will not buy a property if someone died in it. Why? Because they believe their ghost is going to come back and haunt them. Kind of interesting to me. You know, these are fascinating things. But anyways, this whole thing that the real estate market's accelerating, that these record high prices, look at, they're fudging the data. I'm telling you, there is no way we're at record highs. You adjust for inflation, we're we're spiraling downward. You adjust for mortgage buy downs of the new home sales. We're spiraling downward, and the spiraling downward is just getting started. Yes, supply's at an all-time low. I get that. There's low supply, low inventory. But here's the thing. With low supply and low inventory, prices should be skyrocketing, but they're not. They're going down. You know why? Because what is at a record low is demand. Nobody wants to buy a house at these high prices. They just don't want to do it. They don't want any part of it anymore. The buyers are gone. They're completely gone. They're going away. Maybe you want to be a bag holder. Hurry up and buy. You can still get close to the price Billy Bob got, right? You can buy close to the top. If you want to do that, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. I'm a real estate broker. It's a great time to buy. That's what we're instructed to say. Anyways, if you like this stuff, give me the thumbs up. Why not? It's Wednesday. It's Fed Day. Fed's coming out in a half an hour. They will not raise rates. Will it move the market? A little bit, probably have a reaction one direction and then shoot down the other way, or down and then shoot up. But it's not going to be, I don't see it as a huge market mover, because everybody knows they're not going to raise the rate this time. And so the markets will stay flat. But we got Apple earnings. Apple earnings coming out tomorrow. Very exciting. Hit that subscribe button. I want to talk to you more later in the week. Give me the thumbs up first. Why not? I'm Tall Mike. Get out there, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.